Ladies, if you ever thought or said to yourself that men these days just don't approach women anymore, in this video, I'm going to give you 5 simple strategies that you can apply as of right now that's going to get way more men to approach you. And you want to make sure that you watch this video entirely and stick around till the end of this video because the 5th strategy is the one that's going to allow you to handpick and get approached by the exact guy that you want to get approached by. If you're new here, my name is Lion. I'm a dating coach and I talk about dating and relationships from a man's perspective, specifically catered to women. So if that's something that you're interested in or you want to learn more about that, please consider subscribing to this channel. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Number 1, and I'm just going to get the obvious right out of the way, but ladies, open up your body language. The most important factor that will determine whether or not anyone is really going to come and try to approach you is whether or not your body language is open or closed. Men, just like women, and I'm talking about masculine men, right, really have the fear of rejection embedded in them. And that's just because we don't like to be rejected just as much as you do, right? And even to a certain extent, I would even argue that men have the fear of rejection even to a higher extent than women do because we've probably approached more women than women have approached us. And on average, we've probably been therefore rejected more times. So we don't like how that feels. We don't like to approach a woman and then be denied and then have to, walk away from her with our tail between our legs. Therefore, you really want to make it easy for guys to approach you. And that really starts with the most obvious advice: open up your body language. That means that you have to put your phone down, get your headphones off your head, and when you are either, let's say, sitting at the gym in between your sets, or you are at work, or you are at school, or maybe, again, just at the grocery store, wherever you may be, right? You want to open up your body language in the sense that you want to face those who you might potentially want to interact with, right? You want to keep your head at potentially eye level with them, not be distracted by things. So that should be really just the basis, right? If you just start doing that a little bit more often, and by the way, this is something that we all tend to just automatically do. We tend to all grab our phones as soon as somebody comes, in close proximity with us. So if we just resist these urges, right, and we just allow ourselves to just stay and linger in that discomfort of being in close proximity with someone, but not necessarily closing off and away from them, but instead just being open towards them, right? And just being at eye level with them and not necessarily trying to hide or run away as quickly as possible. Just doing that is going to already put you on a very sure way of becoming a lot more approachable to men. And by the way, before I even go any further, you should really start practicing this advice as well as the other ones that I'm going to talk about in this video with everyone at the beginning. Don't just wait for that perfect magical moment when the man of your dreams just happens to stand across from you, in the same room, and then try to apply these strategies. If you try to do that, you'll probably come off as very awkward. It's not going to be as natural because you did not have the practice. So you definitely want to start practice it with everyone. Plus, because you really never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to, run into and who really is that person in front of you. So you really want to try to practice this with everyone at the beginning. And then you're just going to get a lot better and it's going to be more natural. Number 2, very similar to body language, you also want to make eye contact and you want to smile at potential men that you would want to talk to. So if you are, again, at any really situation, whether you're at work, whether you're at school, on the street, at the grocery store, at the gym, or anywhere else, you want to be comfortable, right, with the discomfort of potentially just locking eyes with someone. Again, something that we often try to really strongly avoid, right? Like just pay attention to your daily interactions. Linger in that moment. Make eye contact just for a tiny bit longer than you would normally do. Now, I'm not saying just awkwardly stare at someone, right, as they're walking or as they're looking at you, but as you're making that eye contact and they acknowledge that eye contact, right, they look back at you, just linger there for a quick second. And as you do that, give them a little smile. You don't have to give them a big, full teeth smile, but you can just do a little smirk that's going to, again, let them know that you would be potentially open to a conversation. Number 3, creating more opportunities and putting yourself in better situations, right? This is something that we often overlook, but again, you want to make it as easy as possible, right, to connect with other people. You also want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to approach you. Do you think that you're going to be more approachable just walking through the street right? Or you're probably going to be more approachable waiting at a line at Starbucks. Again, the fact that you are in line at Starbucks, right? You are in close proximity with other people. It's so much easier to make eye contact. It's so much easier to start up a conversation. You're way more available to potentially interact with people if you're going to be, number one, in just close proximity with them, right? Compared to you are on the street and walking with a fast pace. The chances of you getting approached by a guy, being stopped by a guy, are going to be way lower. No one wants to interrupt someone and potentially have a really high chance of getting rejected because you might be really looking busy walking through that compared to standing in line for something, right? Chances are you're not going anywhere because you have to wait anyway. So just be smart about putting yourself in specific situations that would potentially create better opportunities to be approached and to meet people. So again, I don't just mean go out there and just wait in all the lineups, but say for example, you will take a dancing class, or maybe you'll take, I don't know, a pottery class, or you'll just take an improv comedy class, or even, I don't know, a pickleball class, anything that will put you, again, in just close proximity with other people. You're going to become way more approachable if you just put yourself in situations where people tend to try to interact with other people compared to just hoping that someone will just knock on your window as you're driving through the drive-through at Starbucks. Again, put yourself in situations that will encourage interactions rather than trying to avoid people all day and then saying to yourself, why are men not approaching me? Number 4, don't be blocked by your friends. And this is something that we tend to always do, especially if we decide to explore and do all of these activities that I just mentioned earlier, right? If we decide to go to pickleball, if we decide to, pick up a new hobby, or maybe go for a run or for a hike or whatever, we always tend to want to bring a person with us, right? Because we just want that security blanket. We just want someone that we can always have a conversation with. We don't want to look like a loner. We don't want to go to dinner alone, or we don't want to go and grab a drink at the bar alone because, again, we are just so afraid that, we're going to be vulnerable, that we're going to look like a loner. And I'm not saying that you should be putting yourself in potentially dangerous situations. Don't go walking through a dark alley in the middle of the night, but be comfortable with just the discomfort of putting yourself out there and not necessarily bringing anyone along. The chances of you getting approached by a guy increase exponentially if you're alone versus when you are with other people. So when you bring one friend along, the chances of you getting approached by a man, again, because of that same fear of rejection, lower substantially. And if you are with a group of friends or a group of women, then that becomes extremely, extremely low. The guys that you're going to get approached by, right? If you are walking with a group of friends on a night out, the guys that you're going to get approached by are the same guys who are going to approach every single woman that night without any discrimination. The exact same guys that you keep telling yourself that you're trying to avoid. So if you want to encourage the type of attention and the type of men that you actually want to potentially explore a relationship with, be comfortable doing things alone and not getting blocked by someone. And this is just like beyond dating, but I also think that it's a really good exercise in just becoming comfortable with putting ourselves in vulnerable and uncomfortable situations, right? I think that it does really tremendous things for our own self-confidence and self-esteem, knowing that we don't necessarily need anyone in order to have a good time, in order to go out for dinner, in order to pick up a new hobby, or do anything we really want to do with our lives. All right, number 5, and this one, like I mentioned before, is the best advice that I can give you in order to get approached and start a conversation with a very specific, handpicked guy that you want to potentially get to know. And that is, don't be afraid to make the first move. Now, when I say make the first move, a lot of people have a very flawed idea of what that should look like. When I say make the first move, I definitely do not mean go up to a guy and ask him if he's single. I definitely don't mean go up to a guy and tell him that he's attractive or he looks good, or maybe even straight up tell him that you are into him or ask him out on a date. While these things might temporarily work because he'll probably be flattered and he'll probably be surprised, and he probably, if you are attractive, will say yes to whatever you offer. However, it does ruin in the long term, it does ruin the dating dynamic. When you don't allow a guy to pursue you over a period of time, he tends to just sit back and allow you to pursue him. And while you might think that you are cool with that for a very short period of time, over time, if you don't see him putting in the effort and pursuing you, You will get tired of that. You will start sabotaging the relationship because, again, as a woman, you want to see men pursue you. However, what I do mean by saying make the first move is go up to a person and start a conversation, right? And when I say start a conversation, again, it has to be something very innocent, something very on the surface, just basically trying to break the ice. So maybe coming up to someone at the gym and asking them a question about the gym, about your workout, right? Men love it when you ask us for advice, when you ask us a question, when you ask for help with something. So again, whether that's just directions on the street, whether you just ask the guy at the coffee shop if he knows what time does this place open up in the morning or what time do they close tonight, maybe complimenting someone on, again, something just outside of their looks, maybe something like, hey, I really like your shoes. Where did you get them, right? Again, depending on the environment that you're in, depending on the situation that you're in, you really want to start a conversation around something very casual, around something that's definitely non-sexual, definitely non-romantic. You don't want to just make your romantic interest known right off the bat, but rather just keep it very, very casual, very, very innocent. And the more conversations you're going to start, the more comfortable you're going to be. So don't be shy with starting a conversation with a guy. Again, don't just do that with that dream guy that you see at a coffee shop. Do that with everyone. Not only will it make you more confident, it will also just make you a more sociable, a more open, just a more fun and interactive person, which are all very attractive qualities that men are looking for. So if you are at whatever environment, and again, just pay attention to the places and the situations that you intentionally put yourself in while you're in these situations, don't be afraid to make the first move and interact with people by just opening up the conversation. And as you do that, as you ask them that question, you always want to give them a little bit of a chance to reciprocate. Don't just carry on the entire conversation after that, right? But rather ask a question, right? You're breaking the ice and you want to allow them to reciprocate the interest. If they don't, continue on your day and move on with your life. If they do, then that's an opportunity to connect further. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you aren't already, and let me know which of these strategies have you tried before and which of them are you going to start trying now after watching this video. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.